What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Disc Golf Nerd Plastic Podcast. Want to do a question and answer episode of the show, so I had you guys submit some questions. Thanks to everybody who did. I will be reading those now. I realized that I actually basically have no idea how long it's going to take me to read all these questions, so I figured I would just answer the ones that I have now and see how long it's taking me and kind of go from there. And if I clear them all today, then I'll just leave that video active. You guys can submit more questions, and other folks can submit questions as well. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, let me go over here real quick. There's gotta be a better way to look at all these at once. Let me just zoom in a little bit on my browser. That will definitely help me out here. My eyes are not as good as they once were. All right, Jonathan Hernandez. Strong start. Here we go. Jonathan Hernandez says, I just signed up to play my first C tier. I've never played anything other than Trilogy Challenges or Ace Race tournaments. So what are the things I need to have down to go out and play good, like good tips? Thanks. So I am not a big tournament player, but here are some basic things that I would say. I've only played a couple of events, so I'm not really the best for this particular question. But here are a couple things. Definitely make sure you have plenty of hydration and snacks and stuff like that to kind of refuel. Generally, if it's a multi-round tournament, you have a break in there. It's good to bring something that's healthy. It'll give you some good energy and it's not going to upset your stomach in between rounds. You don't know what may be provided or maybe nothing will be provided depending on the event. So yeah, just figure that out and kind of plan for that. Another thing I would definitely recommend in a multi-round event situation is to change your socks in between rounds. It sounds kind of weird, but especially during the summer or if it's a wet day, having a fresh pair of socks out there will keep your feet feeling, comfortable, which can kind of help. It's a lot of walking around, a lot of throwing to do two 18-hole rounds in a day. And, so it definitely will keep you on your feet for a while. So having the ability to put on some fresh socks. Also, in between, during your lunch break, after you guys turn in scorecards or whatever, basically take your shoes off too. Felt really good. I got this tip from somebody else. I forget who told me this, but it works. They're both really solid tips that I've implemented at a tournament for. Just take your shoes off for a little while and kind of let your feet air out. Walk around in the grass a little bit. It'll kind of rejuvenate your feet, keep them from getting really tired and sore, which could eventually, damage your ability to throw and transfer your weight properly, that sort of thing. Obviously, things like keep making sure that you know all the rules and that you understand all the rules in order to play the game correctly. That should be a given, but it's not necessarily. You're definitely going to run into casual tournament players that don't know things like maintaining your balance inside the circle when you're putting and not falling forward, or proper ways to mark your lie, and how to count strokes and keep your scorecard all kept up to date. So I highly recommend brushing up on the rules and that sort of thing. I'm sure there are other places to get some tournament advice. If I had more experience, I might talk about it some more. But that's all I really got on that one. So thanks to Jonathan Hernandez for the question. I guess warming up and stretching is definitely a big thing, and this goes across the board for disc golf or any sport. You really want to make sure you get loose and stretch and get really warm and ready to go by the time you need to start, so that you're not going out there cold, and work up to it. Don't go out there cold and start just smashing drives in the field. Just take a good time to stretch and just move your muscles around, rotate your shoulders, start to get your hips opening up and working out a little bit. Make sure you stretch your legs, your ankles, all that kind of stuff is very important. And yeah, start slow. Maybe just stretching, just moving your muscles. Then start throwing a couple of short shots and do some putting and that sort of thing. And make sure you got the muscle memory going and that you're good and warm before you start the event. Moving on, we have these are questions from Chris Arnett. He submitted them via Facebook, so I just copy and paste them into the video. So, what do you think about a lot of players switching sponsors from Prodigy? Is his first question. I honestly don't know a whole lot about that. I just can kind of just see what's happened, and there's not really a huge amount of thought for me to have on it. It does seem as though there might be some practices in the organization that players don't agree with, but I don't really know because other players seem to be more than happy, continuing to support Prodigy and sticking with it. So without knowing any more of the details, I really couldn't speak on it, and I don't want to, do anybody a disservice by kind of speculating about stuff. But it seems like they've definitely lost a couple high-profile players. Typically, most notably Germ and Paige Pierce. But honestly, in those two instances specifically, it seemed like that it makes sense. It's kind of like a homecoming thing, Paige is back with Dynamic and a lot of people that she knows very well and has a lot of experience with, and she feels really happy to kind of be back home where her support base is, and with DD and Big Germ being from where he's from, and I believe South Carolina, and having a lot of friends in the Innova organization and being in the area and all that stuff. I feel like it's a similar thing for him. So, yeah, I can't really speak on the Prodigy thing too much. Who are my picks to win Worlds, Open Men and Women? I gotta go Ricky and Paige Pierce. I mean, it's hard to say. This World's going to be really interesting. I'm definitely going to probably do a full episode of the show leading into Worlds and give you guys my thoughts on it. I think the really wooded courses thing is going to be very interesting. It's going to open up some doors, I think, for perhaps some players that aren't often challenging for Worlds or haven't won it before to kind of get up in there and into the mix and into the top cards. But ultimately, I think if Paige plays up to her potential, there's nobody that can beat her right now. And I feel the same way with Ricky, unless they're both making mistakes. If they're best against anybody else's best right now, it's really hard to say. The margins are really tight, but I got to go with Paige and Ricky. They're my favorite players in their divisions, and I think they're the best in the world right now for sure. Number 3, do you think having multiple tours is good? DGPT, DG World Tour, PDGA National Tour, or do you think one tour would be better? I don't see any problem with there being multiple tours. I definitely have my favorites. I'm not a huge fan of the Disc Golf World Tour, which I've kind of mentioned on the show before. Just not really a big fan of the way they package it, and some of the events, and it's just not really my thing. Everybody has their preferences. I'm a big fan of what Steve Dodge with the Disc Golf Pro Tour is doing, and I'll state it here that I believe Steve Dodge is moving in the right direction, and I think he's the one who's going to make the biggest change in the game right now. I think he's the most important man in disc golf right now. UC's been doing some amazing stuff, mostly in Europe, but I don't necessarily agree with some of his thought processes on things. I think Steve Dodge is much more inclusive. I think he is much more in fitting with the kind of modern sensibility that's going on with young people these days, and trying to get away from like corporate branding and stuff where it's all very select club type of thing. I feel like Steve Dodge is a lot more interested in bringing in everybody together to push the game of disc golf and make our players be able to compete and make a living, and to help other people in disc golf continue to make a living and see it all grow and expand. I think Steve Dodge is the man, and I think he's going to be looked back on as one of the most influential figures in disc golf, especially throughout this period with these new tours and all the things that are going on. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing to have different tours out there. I feel like it's it's unfortunate because then they have to try to schedule with each other, and potentially there could be some conflicts there and some events that might have kind of a spread field, and that's a little bit unfortunate, but I don't see any real problem with it. I'm a big supporter of the National Tour. I think it has amazing events. The Beaver Safe Fling is my favorite event, which has always been a National Tour that I've seen it. So yeah. I don't really mind the multiple tours thing, but definitely Disc Golf Pro Tour and the National Tour are my preferred to watch, and I think are where it's at. Number 4, will you review the Wombat 3? Good questions, Chris. Thanks for submitting those. I believe I have a Wombat 3 in transit as we speak from another subscriber who I believe submitted some questions down below. Friend of the show, Chris Caulfield. I believe he's hooking me up with a Wombat 3. I'm not 100% sure until stuff shows up, but I think that's the deal. And I will be doing a review on that one once it gets here, if I do. If not, I will definitely be looking into that in the future. Wombat is a really amazing, underrated disc that I think a lot of people could could enjoy. All right, moving on. How long is this taking me? Yeah, this is plenty of content to make a show out of. Thanks for submitting it, guys. Unknown Castle 59 has a few questions. Let's see, 3 questions. All-time favorite disc. Wow, that's kind of a tough one, and it's hard to say. But if I have to pick one disc, like my Desert Island disc, it's a soft magnet. It just always has been. You guys know I've Discraft soft magnet, bright orange, 165 to max weight, anywhere in there, but usually in like 165, 170 ish range. They're just dead straight off the tee. They're super versatile in the woods. They're great on approach. They're great at it to get you out of trouble. You can putt with them. You can run long putts with them. They're great in tailwind, and they're just my one of my most thrown disc of all time, hands down. I've thrown more shots with soft magnets than probably any other disc on the market. But it's hard to say. My favorite driver is probably the Trespass. I really like those. I'm a huge Compass fan. I have a whole bunch of Compasses that I'm holding on to right now, and honestly, yeah, Desert Island disc. It would be hard. It would be hard to say between that and the Compass, but I think if I'm going all-time favorite disc that I've got the most throws on and have always loved and continue to throw, it's 100% the soft magnet. Number 2, why, when, and how did I start making videos on YouTube? Wow. Okay. I don't know exactly when. You can go back and probably look at whatever, some of the older videos here on my channel if you wanted to look into that. It was a good, few years ago for sure. It's been some years that I've been making videos. I started doing it just because I wanted to post it in the bag video. I was watching a lot of them, and I wanted to let people know what I was throwing, just to be part of the community in disc golf on YouTube at the time, and that's all it was. You guys know some of you know my email address. It was the original channel name here. It was Discraft and Innova was the name of the channel, because that's what I threw. That's pretty much what everybody threw. Those were your options at the time, more or less. There's a couple other brands out, but for the most part, you were throwing, if you were a sponsored player, you're almost all sponsored by either Discraft or Innova at that time, and for quite a while before that as well. But I just made that in the bag video, and then I realized there were a couple of things that I didn't quite understand when I was starting out that I thought maybe I could help people understand, like the difference between an understable disc and an overstable disc, and other basic concepts that I try to teach here on my channel. That's been a huge focus of doing this channel, and the reason why I continue to do it was because people started subscribing. I was like, hey, I can make a video about a couple things that can help out beginners, stuff that I didn't know, to be on this channel, because I made this in the bag video and a couple people subscribed, and maybe I'll make a couple other make a few more videos. From there, it kind of snowballed, and I kept getting more and more subscribers, and I tried to make more videos based on stuff that I thought I could help out with. And then eventually I transitioned into doing disc reviews as well. It's never been a focus, and it was certainly not something that I can't say it's never been a focus, but it's not something that I set out to do. I'll put it that way. Pardon me, I'm just adjusting my mic a little bit. But after I made a whole bunch of different, instructional type videos, tips and information, and I still had people continuing to subscribe to the channel, and I wasn't putting out a lot of content. I made those videos, and I tried to explain those concepts, and short of remaking videos in order to make them better, which I have done throughout the years, what else am I going to post at that point? So I started getting more into disc reviews as a way that I can continually put out content for the people that subscribe to my channel so that they can watch it and enjoy it and for whatever they want. Then it just became a huge hobby and obsession to keep testing all this plastic. As it stands right now, I have more disc reviews than anyone in the world, as far as I know. Getting pretty close to 130 different disc reviews. So that kind of covers that question. Number 3, how did you get into disc golf in the first place? Well, sorry if there are some questions that you have previously answered. Just found out about the channel, loving the content so far. No problem. All good questions. thank you for stopping by. I'm glad that you enjoy the content that I'm putting out here. Um, I got started many years ago. I got into playing Ultimate Frisbee with friends. I actually, at one point, had talked to my coach into letting us play Ultimate during my gym class because I really didn't have any real love for other sports. Growing up, I was not ever really that great at sports. I was never terrible, but I was not really very good, and I didn't like them. I didn't like the atmosphere around them. I didn't like the kind of just like yeah, I just didn't like the whole culture with jocks and stuff. It just didn't really do much for me, and I never really got much of the benefits of sports as a kid. I was more into action figures and my imagination and art and music and stuff than I was into sports. I got into frisbee just through some friends and just really liked throwing it. It was a lot of fun. Just playing ultimate was really great. It was a great thing to go do in the park on a beautiful day. Just go, throw a disc around and play catch. It was great exercise, and I liked it. I was pretty good at it. I can throw a disc quite, pretty accurately. I'm pretty decent at catch. I always feel like I'm pretty good. Like I can definitely get the disc to you most of the time, and I'm not too bad at catching. Played some casual ultimate with friends. We'd also go out to a park. And play, catch and stuff. And then I think one day we decided to, like, oh, let's play like golf, and we'll throw from here to that tree as a par four, from here to that tree or that lamp post or whatever, and we set pars for it and just kind of goofed around. And then from there, fast forward many years later, I moved to Oregon. And one of the first places that my good friend Tyler took me after I moved here, one of my oldest friends, he took me out to Dabney State Park, out in the Columbia Gorge, just to get us out of town and show us some of the sights and stuff. It's a beautiful place to hang out. He had just kind of gotten into disc golf relatively, shortly before that, and I played my first round. I had no idea what I was doing. I was very perplexed as to how the discs were reacting to my throw. They didn't act anything like I was expecting. As somebody with familiarity with an ultimate disc, that's and those kind of early experiences with golf discs are a huge reason of why I do the channel that I do here, is to kind of hope to help people leapfrog the phase where you're out there and you're throwing discs and you have no idea what's going on and you don't know how to control them and they're going all over the place. I'm trying to prevent people from having to deal with that, and I think disc golf has more and more media and more attention on it. More people are being able to kind of jump over that awkward phase where you don't know what's going on and become good at it, and that's when it really becomes addicting. I feel like there's probably a lot of people that get out there and they throw and they don't know what the hell is going on, and the disc is hooking left and they're throwing it way up in the air and just nothing working out very well, and they give up on it. I'm trying to prevent that. I'm trying to get people to look into it and figure out what they need to do. So what are good discs to start with and all that kind of stuff. And, to prevent them from getting discouraged early on and help them get to the point where they know what's going on. Because when you start learning how to throw the different lines and you start parking shots next to the basket, you start hitting longer shots, maybe you sneak in an ace or something, it becomes an obsession and it becomes a wonderful thing to have in your life. Disc golf, I mean, we all love it. I have this channel. You guys are listening to some random dude talk about it. It's just that good. You got to love it. It's just a great game, So that's how I got started, though. My buddy took me out to Dabney, and that was that. He throws in another question. What is your least favorite disc golf disc of all time? That's hard to say. I don't really necessarily feel like I want to call out a mold for being terrible. There are definitely a few that I've tested that I really didn't care for. That just really didn't work, or I just didn't like at all. But honestly, I feel like some of my least favorite discs out there are some of the like really overstable, really fast stuff. Everybody just wants to put out just another super beefy, super fast disc, another super beefy, super fast disc. That kind of stuff. Those are the most boring discs to test and throw. You throw it and it hooks left and it's really fast getting there. It's just those are some of my least favorite types of discs in the world. I want something, I generally enjoy discs that I can get to stand up and go with my power, depending on the shot, a meat hook has a place in your bag. But overall, I would say, overstable meat hook type discs are my least favorite discs to throw, unless that's what I need for the shot, and then they're my favorite, I guess. Okay, Stephen Osmond comes in with this question. When the disc golf guy, Terry Miller, says McBeth is attempting a putt of 54, a 54 footer, is that from the maker? I think he meant marker. Is that from the marker to the center of the basket or to the leading edge of the basket? I believe all distances, if you were to mark, the putting circle, you would mark it from the pole to the to the outer edge. So if I'm sure that if it's a live broadcast or something, and Terry's saying that, he's guesstimating based on circles painted or just pure speculation based on just eyeballing it and giving you an approximate of how far it is. But if you were to measure something like that, it would definitely be from the front of the marker, which is your lie, to the I guess the back of the marker to the pole, not the front of the tray itself. The pole is the thing they're measuring to. I'm fairly certain. When you do disc reviews, why don't you ever show footage of disc flight? As far as I know, I've never seen you throw. I know disc flight is relative to your arm speed, but I always hear your opinions with no footage of throws. Watch all your video reviews of discs I care for, trilogy lineup, but I never get to see them fly. Why is that? Dominic Bigford, you're definitely probably somewhat new to the channel. I've answered this question a whole bunch of times. It's a totally fair and valid question, and you have no problem submitting it. I don't mind bringing it up here. Let me check my time here. About 20 minutes in. Okay. So there's a number of reasons why I don't do it, and I get a ton of criticism for it. Most of the people that don't like my channel or don't like my reviews don't like them for that reason. I would say that's probably the number one complaint that I get. But ultimately, it's on me to make the reviews the way I want to, and to do my thing. I make them for the people that do enjoy them, and not so much for the people that don't. And you're always welcome to go watch any other content. So here are some reasons why. Number one, you mentioned it in your question that disc flight is completely relative to arm speed and throwing technique, so I don't think it's terribly representative of a disc for me to just be like, this is what it flies like, because that's only how it flies when I throw it. If anybody else throws the disc, it's going to fly different to some degree. Even somebody who's very similar in skill level, it might fly quite similar to me, but it's not going to be exactly the same. And if anybody throws farther or less far than I do, it's going to be drastically different based on the way they throw it, their release angle, their typical, whether they're throwing the distance they are based on their reach back or because they have good snap, or a combination of factors that goes into like a long throw. All that stuff's going to change it. Obviously, I can show you a video of Paul McBeth throwing a destroyer. That doesn't mean it has anything to do with what it's going to look like when you get out and throw it. So that's a huge reason. I try to be more conversational and give you guys more of a general sense of what to expect from the disc. My goal, my focus with these reviews is to provide information for people who cannot handle them and feel them in person, or test them themselves before they buy them. That's all I'm trying to do, is I go out and test this stuff. So if you guys can't, you can reference my review, and you can hopefully have a better sense of whether or not the disc is going to work out well for you, or if it's something that you might need. Other reasons why I don't do that is because any footage I have taken, because I've investigated this a lot, it's not like I just ruled it out. I've kind of almost ruled it out at this point, but I've tried it and attempted it before. Most of the footage that I'm able to get without a camera, without someone operating a camera and zooming in on it, is not worth having. You can't see the disc, and I refuse to put it in the videos and take the time to attach a video to a disc and be or a clip to one of my reviews and like put it out there and like pretend like you can see it when everybody who watches it knows you can't see the disc. I'm not trying to call anybody out, but I watch a whole bunch of different reviews on YouTube that somebody throws a disc, the second it leaves their hand, you don't see it again. Maybe you see a tiny little thing, a little blip, finish to the left at the end, like you can't see it. I'm sorry. Most of the disc reviews I see out there, you can't see it unless you have somebody there to film the disc in flight and show it, zoom in as the disc gets farther away from you. That's the only way you're going to do it. Or have someone filming you who zoomed in on you and zooms out as the disc flies towards them. There has to be some zoom involved, or else most of the footage I find completely useless. And I refuse to put that stuff in there and take the time to film it and put it in my videos when I know you can't see the disc. So a lot of the stuff I've tested looks, you can't see it, and I'm not going to put it in the video because I know you can't see it and it's worthless. So yeah, that's another huge reason. I've done some field testing footage in my reviews using friends, and people immediately like to kind of make fun of the people that I have throwing, or say they're throwing incorrectly, and all kinds of other things that just are generally obnoxious and just cloud the issue, and I don't need to deal with. And another main reason, and I'll be perfectly honest with you guys, if I'm out throwing, especially if I'm out throwing with some friends, I'm not trying to make disc golf videos. I'm trying to throw discs. That's my time to throw my plastic. That's my time to test stuff. It's my time to throw my favorite driver. You know what I mean? I'm not out there with the limited time that I have as a grown man with a wife and a job and other hobbies and other interests and, whatever else. I'm making disc golf videos on rainy days. I'm making disc golf videos in the evening on days where I don't have the ability to get out to the course. That sort of thing. You know what I mean? If I'm out and I got a bunch of buddies out and we're throwing discs, that's what we're doing. We're throwing discs. I'm trying to go swimming. I got life to live at that point, and it's not my focus anymore to be doing that. But that being said, it's not something I try to rule out entirely. I'm sorry if, people have already heard all this from me before. I just wanted to, I knew somebody was going to ask that question, and I wanted to be able to answer it fully. Those are some of the reasons why I don't do it. Hopefully you still enjoy my videos. I try to make it more conversational, as if your buddy throws the disc and you say, "Oh, what's that thing like? Oh, what do you, oh, I got a new disc. Check it out. It does this. This is how it looks. This is how it feels." That's more or less what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to give you guys a basic idea of what to expect. All right, let's check the time here. I don't want to go too much longer than about 40 minutes or so, maybe an hour. We got some time. Let's keep moving. Chris Caulfield, there he is, supporter of the show, friend of the channel here for sure. First, what led you to disc golf, and when did you know you were hooked on the sport? I kind of touched on some of that stuff. I knew when I was hooked on the sport when I started to learn the lines. That's when when I hit my first ace, when I started making putts from outside the circle occasionally, when I started getting birdies, and I knew that I was understanding what I was doing. That's when I really got hooked on it. I think a lot of people would agree with that. Secondly, if you could play any course in the world, what would I pick? Wow. I have a few disc golf bucket list type things. I would love to get to the Grange in Virginia, I believe, and play the dark side and the light side and hang out there, play the Tiki course. That's someplace I would love to go. I would love to get to Sandy Point. Shout out to Terry Miller and Johnny V down over in Milwaukee and Wisconsin. I'd love to get to Sandy Point Resort somewhere in Wisconsin as well, and I've heard it's just amazing, similar kind of thing, a private golf place, with amazing courses and facilities and just like a golf vacation. I would love to do that. But number one on my list is probably Maple Hill. I would really, really love to play Maple Hill and to go take in the Vibram, watch the lead card at the Vibram, and I would love to get in some practice rounds on Maple Hill Gold. That would be amazing. That's my number one thing I would like to do eventually. I would also love to get down to the Memorial. That would be great. I'd love to go out and play GBO. I hear that's, an amazing experience. There's lots of cool things that I could do, but yeah, Maple Hill probably top. Third, what do you think of MVP's move towards monomold? He says monomold. That's nice. Monomold discs. That is difficult to say. I've been trying to figure out ways to phrase, just the new line of MVP stuff. I believe it's called Streamline. The new, how do you say that? Non-overmold, like traditional disc. It's kind of hard to. I'm not really sure what the word is. What do I think of that? I think it's a great idea. I have no doubt they'll make some good molds and some good flying stuff and good plastic types. I really like the idea of for them to think, hey, we don't have to do the overmold now, so it's just going to make the production process for just a one piece disc, to be much more, much more cost effective and easier for us to handle. We can do it consistently based on the information and the experience they've gathered, and the time they've been manufacturing plastic, and then, they can put it out on the market at a slightly reduced rate than other companies. I think all that's a great deal, and I hope to review plenty of that stuff as it comes out. Very interested as well. Fourth, and just for fun, could you envision disc golf as an Olympic sport? I think he says great podcast idea. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for the support. An Olympic sport, disc golf in the Olympics. It could happen. It could definitely happen. It would be. It would take a lot more different locations to get into it and involved in it. I think even to be considered for that. I believe there's a certain amount of different international places that need to be have a certain amount of players playing the sport in a certain amount of different countries. For you to be able to apply to be an Olympic sport. I think, almost anything could become an Olympic sport eventually. I think disc golf is doing all the right things, and who knows where disc golf could go. I could absolutely see it eclipsing golf within the next 10 to maybe 15 years or so, based on the trajectory we have now and the trajectory golf has as it goes, as of right now. We'll see, I guess. I don't really know. That's a good question. All right, let's move on. Yeah, nice. Got some time here. I'm almost done. Yeah, I'll just get all these. Sweet. What kind of courses do you like to play? This is from Jason Nan. What kind of courses do you like to play, and what do you see as the future of disc golf course design? Great questions. I tend to like wooded golf. I like to shape shots through the woods, but I don't really discriminate too hard. I like lots of different types of golf. Probably, big open, long bomber golf is my least favorite to watch and to play. I would always rather see people competing where they have to work tight lines than just throwing big 500-foot hyzers over the top, over and over again and pitching up to the basket. I'm not really that into that. It's just kind of whatever. Oh, give me a par 4 that's 600 feet, and then all the top 10 players will throw a 500-foot hyzer over the top, and then they'll pitch up a little putter and tap in for a 3. I don't really need to see that too much. I would much rather watch tight wooded technical golf. That's why I really love Maple Hill. That's just seems like a great course because you have distance and you also have that really tight accuracy and punishing holes and other stuff where it's easier for you to score, but never just wide open. I really like that kind of golf. But I generally like playing in the woods. I don't really like super long courses. I don't have a big arm, and I enjoy throwing putters and mid-ranges more than drivers for the most part. So I like to, little technical touch shots with my putters and stuff like that to get birdies or ace runs. I enjoy that personally. It's just kind of what I dig. And as far as the future of course design, that's hard to say. I also really like elevation. I love throwing downhill, slight uphills as well, or, uphill's fine, but everybody, I feel like most people like throwing downhill. I love it. I love floating a putter down a hill and trying to run a basket. That's so much fun for me. I really like that. Some of my favorite holes in golf are big downhill shots. I really enjoy that for sure. So I like elevation and woods for the most part. In terms of the future of course design, it's hard to say. I think it seems to be we're taking over more and more golf facilities, which as I mentioned earlier, and I think that's cool. I have no problem with that, except for the fact that a lot of that does lead itself to like big open hyzer golf, where you're just throwing just a lot of big shots, and the people that can throw the farthest are almost always going to be in contention. I'm not really a big fan of that. I'd like to see more balanced courses with short technical shots, and if it's a must get too, it's a must get too. I have no problem with that. I like that. I find that more compelling. I think hole 17 at USDGC Winthrop Gold is one of the most compelling golf holes in the game of disc golf, and it's short, it's technical, it's difficult. It's got so much going for it. I don't really like the fact that you just keep throwing until I don't like the stroke and distance aspect of it per se, but I don't think it needs to be a big open shot for it to be compelling and exciting to see people compete on. I kind of prefer that, but I don't know. It seems like the future is going to more bigger, more open courses, but it's hard to say because all disc golf is growing. It's not just growing at the highest level, it's growing at the elementary school grounds level. It's growing at the small city park level across the country and in other parts of the world. So I think the future of course design is all courses. There'll be some people who keep putting in crappy truck stop courses that are wide open and boring. They'll seem like you're in somebody's backyard. People will be putting in long championship level courses like Blue Lake. It's everything in between, I think, really. Moving on to Guido 84. I think, is that his full name? It looks like it's like Guido 84S dot dot dot. Anyway, Guido, he's been around for a long time. I recognize lots of comments and stuff from him. So let's check it out. What does he got to say? How should a good bag be set up? How many mids, putters, drivers, understable, overstable, etc. In this one, I don't mean to pass the buck, but I am going to refer you to a full podcast episode that I did on this topic. If you go into my playlist for the Disc Golf Nerd Plastic Podcast, or if you just search Disc Golf Nerd, build a bag or building your bag plastic podcast, you should be able to find it. Relatively simple, or just do it the hard way and look through all my videos till you find it. I did a whole video giving people advice on putting together a full bag. But just, I guess in brief, it depends on where where you live. Depends on your throwing ability and your throwing style and kind of your style of game. So there's a lot of nuance to it. But for the most part, if you get the discs that you really like the best and layer those, find the ones that work best for your game at that moment and carry a few of them in varying stabilities based on plastic type or weight, you can kind of be a little bit more consistent that way by throwing something that feels the same and flies almost the same with slight variances to get you different things that you need. Maybe you need a little bit more fade or a little bit more turn. You can kind of switch based on that. I think that's a very consistent way. But ultimately, if you have a nice overstable and then a straight to stable, straight to understable, and an understable for all the different, putters, mids, drivers, and distance drivers, all of which that you are comfortable with, you're going to be in good shape, but you might not need all that depending on your game. Some people don't throw a lot of mid-ranges, some people don't throw a lot of putters, they just have putters for putting. There's a lot of different ways, but yeah, I have a full episode on that if you want more details on that. The Discman says Sorcerer versus Renegade. This is an interesting question. I'm trying to remember what I can about the Sorcerer. I believe the Sorcerer was faster than the Renegade. The Renegade is a great disc. I've considered putting a Renegade in my bag a few times, somewhat recently, as a straight to understable complement to my Trespasses. I think they're great for that, and that kind of in the DD lineup. It's not if you throw the Trespass, but it's a little bit more stable than you want it to be. The Renegade could be a good option. It's also a very far-flying disc, the Renegade. I remember testing it when it came out, and I was able to get nice distance out of it, for sure. The Sorcerer, I believe, was pretty understable. I'm really kind of drawing a blank on that one. I tested and reviewed the Sorcerer somewhere around 2014 Portland Worlds, but as you guys know, with with the amount of reviews I've done, like I referenced earlier. Um, Man, it's hard to remember them all sometimes. So yeah, the Sorcerer, I believe, more flippy and faster than the Renegade. The Renegade's a little bit straighter overall and not as fast, but still a far flying disc for sure. The Sorcerer, I believe, has good distance capability as well. But yeah, I think that's about it, the best I can do on that question, Discman. Sorry about that. Um, Howlin' Beast, I believe this is the last one. Let me double check here. Um, yeah, that's awesome. It's perfect. So yeah, right around the time frame I wanted. It's great. All right. So what was the question? Let me go back to it. Oh, Howlin' Beast says, "Is McBeast back?" Well, I'm not sure McBeast really went anywhere. He had some, Paul Macbeth had some he had some issues last year with his knee, and subsequent, confidence issues based on the knee, and just not feeling 100%, and not trusting the knee as you might expect with an injured limb. Sometimes you don't trust it, gets in your head. Even if you're not feeling the ill effects of the injury at the time, you might be thinking about it a little bit. It might kind of prevent you from throwing that full power drive. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I'm dealing with a little bit of a knee injury myself right now that kind of comes and goes for me. So yeah, I think that was the gist of it. The other side of it was that Ricky was just unbeatable last year. He was just shredding people, and he's playing at such a consistent level, putting so well, inside and outside of the circle, playing so consistently, and leading from the front of the pack that it was just really hard for anybody to compete with it, Paul included. Paul took down the Memorial this year. It was not surprising for me, but he didn't. He didn't do that great at Gentleman's Club. He was close, but not quite that close. And Ricky was a few strokes better than him, held him off, even though he was putting together an amazing round. And Paul, I mean, even during last season, could at any moment go off and start shredding the field. And he's always incredibly dangerous and one of, if not the best to ever play the game. I think it'll be a really tight battle between him and Ricky all season. I think those are the two guys to beat. I don't think there's any real denying that or disputing that. There's other great players in the division, but to say McBeast is back, to say that he went somewhere, you know what I mean? He's just kind of, didn't perform as well last season as he would have liked, I'm sure. He had the injury problems and also just the incredible play by Ricky Wysocki. So I can't wait to see what happens. I'm going to leave it at that for this episode. Thanks so much to everybody who answered the questions. That was a lot of fun. That was probably my favorite episode to do for this so far, to sit here, answer some questions for you guys. It's really fun. I hope to do more of that. I'm going to leave that video live, so if you guys have any more questions for me, or if anybody hears this and you have a question for me, just shoot over to that video. It's called Ask Me Your Disc Golf Questions, Disc Golf Nerd. I will leave it in the Plastic Podcast playlist. You guys can pop in there and just comment them down below there. I'm going to try to figure out some kind of way to mark the ones that I've already answered, and we'll go from there. So thanks very much for submitting your questions. Thanks for listening. Will continue to put out content for you guys as long as I'm able to. Hoping this knee thing doesn't slow down my reviews, but I should be okay as long as I take it easy on it and let it some time to kind of rest and stuff. I think I'll be all right. But yeah, lots more plastic to test coming up, and I'll be back. I'll talk to you guys soon. All right. Bye.